Here we go with Movies and Money for today. Joining me is Erik Childress of the Chicago Film Critics Association. Erik, let's start with the romantic movie because we are ahead of Valentine's Day. The movie is called The Choice.
Now, pay attention, because I'm about to tell you the secret to life.
Well, it's unfortunate that we have to start with this because
I knew you were going to hate this.
Well, it's a Nicholas Sparks story. It's based on one of Nicholas Sparks' books, and we know that Nicholas Sparks movies, for many years, especially sparked on by the success of The Notebook, have had varying degrees of success. Most of his movies have found success around this period. 3 of the top 4 grossing Nicholas Sparks movies have opened within the weeks of Valentine's Day, and with Valentine's Day next week, you'll probably see this one get off to a decent start this week and probably hold next week. Doesn't mean people should see it, because this movie is quite an evil piece of work, actually. I think that there are ideas in this movie that if you are, if you really want to subscribe to the idea of what the choice actually is, and this guy in this movie doesn't really make a choice, frankly. There are much better movies and books and things. You could have a discussion over dinner that is much more valuable to what this movie is about than what the movie actually is. It's a horrible film.
You really hated it.
Yes, it's terrible.
Let's move on to what else is coming out at the box office this weekend. Pride and Prejudice, but this is not the Jane Austen version. This is with zombies.
Well, it kind of is the Jane Austen version, because this is actually a sort of a unique story where someone actually took basically the Jane Austen text and then added a zombie storyline to it.
Don't tell me they ruined Jane, though.
Well, yes, they did. Because the thing is that you could actually, if you're a Jane Austen fan, you could go see this movie and actually be watching Pride and Prejudice that just happens to have some zombie in it,
so there's a zombie Darcy and everything.
There's not a zombie Darcy, but there's a Darcy zombie hunter. All the Bennett girls are zombie hunters now. They've been trained since birth to battle the zombie plague and whatnot. And there's dialogue and stuff actually taken directly from the Jane Austen text. And that's sort of the problem with the movie, is that the movie really isn't a satire of Jane Austen, nor is it an effective zombie movie. So I don't know why Jane Austen fans would be interested in zombies and why zombie fans would be interested in Jane Austen.
Let's take a look at our next film. It is a comedy called Hail Caesar.
Mr. Mannix.
What's up?
And finally, a movie that I am actually excited to talk about.
Of course you are.
Yeah, well, this is the latest.
This is your style.
Well, I like good movies. That's my style. And this one is from the Coen brothers. Obviously, one of the most unique filmmaking teams that we've had over the last few decades, over the last 3 decades, actually. And this is, while this may not be one of the most straightforwardly entertaining films, it's actually one of the most clever. It's a really sort of interesting sort of idea about in a way, in a Big Short kind of way, as sort of an indictment of capitalism and all isms, pretty much. And it deals with religion, it deals with filmmaking, the idea of that, that you can't really cross over genres and you can't really belong to one group and believe in another ideal and kind of stuff. It's a really fascinating film, a really clever film that, like I said, I don't know if the masses are going to enjoy this one as much as a lot of the Coen brothers, because it's very broad. It has some really funny stuff in it, but it's sometimes sporadically funny. It's a movie that you're going to have a lot more fun talking about after you leave the theater than maybe watching it the first time. But second and third viewing, I think people will really enjoy this movie.
And Clooney is in the film.
It's a fantastic cast. George Clooney, Josh Brolin, Scarlett Johansson, pretty much everyone except Josh Brolin, George Clooney, and this newcomer. All basically only have like 2 scenes in the movie. Jonah Hill's entire role, I think, is actually in the TV commercials. So if you're going to see Jonah Hill, don't expect much more. But it's a fantastic ensemble. It's only 100 minutes long. It's definitely the best movie released this week and of the year so far.
Thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you.